CMS. We are live here with Doctors Cheryl and Paul McGill. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're here because it is the last day of Career Development Month. Last month we asked our middle and high schoolers what were some of their most favorite career paths, or what would they be most interested in. And one of the top entries was health sciences. So we are so pleased to have today here Orthodontist Dr. Paul McGill and Allergist Dr. Cheryl Walker-McGill. So hi, would you guys care to just introduce yourselves really briefly?
Hello, and how are you all today? My name is Dr. Paul McGill. I'm an orthodontist here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I've been here practicing in this location for approximately 30 to 40 years. I've been here since 1984, and I started practicing in 1977 in Washington, D.C. So I'm going to let my wife introduce herself to you now, and it's nice to be able to talk to you all this day.
Hello, I'm Dr. Cheryl Walker-McGill, and I'm an internist and allergist, and I've been here in Charlotte since 2006 when we got married, and I see patients who have, for the most part, asthma and allergy problems.
Wonderful. Now I know you're both doctors, but you're two totally different types of doctors.
Yes.
Could you talk about some of the differences between being a DDS and an MD?
Yes, I can. It's very interesting. We both help people. We love to help people, period. So we both deal with the medical side of an individual, as well as I get a little more detail in the dental side of helping people. Now, you are what you eat. So if you cannot chew up your food properly, then you will start having a lot of medical problems. Therefore, my job is to realign those teeth to where they not only look beautiful, but they are capable of allowing you to chew up your food properly, whereas when you swallow the food, it goes down and your body is able to use that food to make you who you are. Now, I'll let her speak to you about the medical side.
Okay. So, as he was saying, he's an oral health specialist, and that is actually a very important part of medicine. And then I am an internist is in general a physician who takes care of adult patients, but I specialize in allergies and asthma. And so I really focus my attention more on the lungs, the nose or the respiratory tract, so the nose, mouth, and lungs. But there are also other problems that I will address, such as hives, which can be all over, and sometimes swelling and other things. And so it actually works really well when you work together, when you combine oral health and general health. It is something that everybody should be thinking about to make sure that you have both areas covered. Now, another thing that I do is I work with a company to help improve outcomes in high-risk communities. And so my husband's practice is located here on Beatties Ford Road in Charlotte, and he has been dedicated to helping to improve oral health outcomes in this community. And I think that it takes, that's when they say it takes a village, it really does. And so the more people who are willing to go into areas that might be considered high risk, the better, so that we can make sure that all Americans actually have opportunity to have good health outcomes.
That's wonderful. And just to reiterate to everybody, we do have some people coming in on the feed, so hello. Again, this is just a wonderful experience here. We're here with Dr. Cheryl Walker-McGill and Dr. Paul McGill, who is an orthodontist, and Dr. Cheryl Walker-McGill is an internist and allergist. And they have graciously come to, or let us come to speak with them because so many students out of 4,000, hundreds, chose health sciences as a career that they would be interested in. So we're here asking them some questions, but please feel free to ask your own. Submit your questions in the comments area and we'll be sure to ask those live. If you submit them after this feed is over, don't worry. We will still email them to them and post the answers right here as well. So again, thanks for joining us. Our next question, we're wondering how much medical training is involved. We've kind of got an understanding of what you do, but what all did you have to learn to be able to actually practice?
So I'll start with this one. To be a physician, you have to graduate high school, of course, with good grades, so work very hard because your high school time is very, very important with being able to help you achieve your goals. After high school, college. So when you're in high school, make sure you are on the college track. Talk with your guidance counselors and your teachers and make sure you are taking the college prep courses so you can enter into college when you want to and upon graduation from high school. After college, there is, in general, 4 years of medical school. Don't let that scare you. It's 4 years of medical school. Some schools are 3 years now. And actually, I went to Duke, and when I went to Duke, I finished in a little over 3 years. So that saved a little time. But then there was 3 years of residency training, and then another 2 years of fellowship training, and then I got out. So it may sound like a long time, and it is a long time. But the reality is that if at the end of the day you can be what you want to be, it's worth it. Because you'll be 30 years old. Hopefully everyone out there will live to you're 30 years old. So you're going to turn 30 whether you're in school or not. So you might as well be in school.
That's great.
So with orthodontics, it's very similar. We both have to go to high school, and you got to finish high school, but not just finish, you've got to talk to your counselors and parents. Make a dream. You dream, and then you focus on your dream, and don't let anyone be pessimistic around you.
Mm-hmm.
Only talk to those people who are optimistic or the individuals who really want to help you. So once you get your dream in your mind, go around and talk to individuals in those various fields. This way you'll get an idea of what they're doing and ask some of them, and some of them may be able to allow you to mirror them. This way you can see what they're doing as well as ask questions and get them answered by the professional in that field. Once you make up your mind, talk to your counselors and your parents, then you make sure you're taking those right courses in high school to be able to go to the necessary college to enter into dental or medical school. So it took me, after finishing high school, I had to go to college 4 years, and I went to UNC. And then, after then, you've got to get admitted into dental school or medical school. So you've got to take some national examinations. Now, if you look around, you will notice that if you're smarter than half of the people in your class, which is what I used to do, first class I would go to, I'd take a search around just to see who's in the class. And I said, I'm smarter than half of these people. So therefore, I know I can make it. So if you get in there and study at least 1 to 2 hours every day, leave the videos alone, leave your iPads and telephones alone, you can do quite well. So after you take these national examinations, then you can get, hopefully, you will apply to dental school or medical school, and you will be entered into that, or you will be accepted into those programs. After you get into the program, for dental school, you've got to take an additional 4 years to become a DDS or a general dentist. After then, if you want to specialize, you can go to a specialty school and take up, for instance, orthodontics, which will take additional 2 to 3 years. During that time, after you get your general dental license, you get your license to practice wherever you want to practice. Now, it sounds like it's a lot of time, but you can still have a life while you're in dental school. You just got to make sure you study, get your study schedule together, and move forward. You've got to focus, and don't let anyone tell you that you cannot make it. I know because I've been there and I've done that. But I had some very strong-minded parents who would constantly tell me, you can do anything you want to do as long as it's legal and as long as you're working hard to reach that goal.
I think it's important to stress that you need to have a dream, as my husband was saying a little bit earlier, and dream big. Don't let anyone tell you what your dream should be. I used to just lay awake at times and just think about what is it that I want to be in life. And believe it or not, I still do that. So periodically, I sort of think about, what am I doing now and what is it that I would like to do? And every once in a while I make some sort of advancement or change because you don't always stay the same. And so just realize that it's going to be a lifelong type of process. And there's so many different things that you can do in healthcare. You can be, obviously you can be a dentist, you can be a specialized dentist like my husband, an orthodontist. You can be a physician, you can be a physician scientist. So we have colleagues who are at the National Cancer Institute who are developing vaccines to help treat cancer. There are just so many things that you can do. And so the first thing is you have to have a dream, and then you have to have a plan to be able to achieve your goals. And that's what we actually focus in on a bit with our program, which is called the Right Track Program. And we actually have been over to Hawthorne School, and we are planning to visit some other schools over the next year. But we help high school students to develop their plans for achieving goals in healthcare.
That's wonderful. It's funny because I think that's what students think is like, okay, I have to deal with this 4 years and then deal with that 4 years and deal with that 3 years. But first of all, it's not just that you're going to school. It's like you said, especially once you're out of high school, you have much more freedom to make more decisions and, have fun and live your life and do what you want to do. But then after that's over, it's like you're saying, even now, you're still making changes. You're still adjusting your career. You're still incorporating nonprofit work and doing volunteer work and doing all sorts of things, which we're so appreciative of. But it's so nice that, again, nothing is static. And so I think that's a wonderful message. In that same vein, could you talk a little bit about what a typical work week is like for you?
Of course. My work week when I first started out was a lot. I owed quite a bit of money, for it takes some money to go to school. If you're smart and you're wise and you're listening to your counselors and your parents, you will study hard while you're in high school and apply for scholarships. You'll be surprised at the number of scholarships that are out there and available for you, but you got to look to them. So nowadays, you've got cell phones, you've got iPads, you've got everything at your convenience. All you got to do is get on it, look for it, request it. If you don't ask for it, don't expect for it to come knocking on your door saying, here I am, loan, here I am, money for you. You got to ask for it if you want it. But be prepared to answer the questions that they will have for you. They really want to find out if you're really focused on becoming this expert or this professional, or are you just out there for some games and you want to play some games while you're at school? No. We're seriously looking for individuals who really want to help people. Now, even after you finish school, we take continuing educations all of the time. Because in order to keep up with all of the day's differences, problems that are popping up, we need to talk with each other, listen to what each are saying, and then make sure we put our input as to what we have found. Mm-hmm. If you notice, All of our work when we're working on patients is called a practice. It's called a practice because nobody will ever know it all except God. Okay? So you got to constantly work at learning more, learning new things, being up to date on what's happening in your field, as well as collaborating with others, because we are working on the entire body. We want your entire body to be healthy. And this is why we do what we do. So when I first started, I was working 6 days a week because I owed money. And I was not about to not pay my bills. I was trained when I was a young fella that you pay your bills and you be honest at what you're doing. I learned how to break my schedule down to where I could work the number of hours I wanted to work and accomplish the goals that I wanted to accomplish. And these things you'll have to sit down and talk with individuals in that profession. You go around to different offices, some guys only work a few days a week and they take off the rest of the week. Some guys work all of the time because they really enjoy what they're doing, or that's something that they really want to do. So it's an open-ended agreement. You have to make your plan. You have to talk with people who are in the profession or in the profession that you are interested in, and then set your dreams.
And I would say that it really has varied. When I started out working, I was on faculty at Northwestern in Chicago. And so depending on when I was teaching in the hospital, sometimes I would be seeing patients every day. Sometimes I'd be seeing patients maybe 4 days or 5 days a week. So it really does vary. Now I see patients very few. I actually see patients much less because of some of the other work that I do. But it really can vary. So the bottom line is that it'll be what you want it to be. If you want to see patients all the time, there's that opportunity. If you want to see patients some of the time, there's that opportunity too. But there are some people who will go into healthcare and they will become administrators and they may never see patients. So it all just depends on what it is that you want to do. And the great thing about it is that you can change along the way. So for particularly women who may take time off for children or may want to work part-time during part of their career, there are those opportunities too. And I think that that's the great thing about healthcare, is that it really does allow you a lot of flexibility. You've got to work hard to get there. So when you start off, in general, you're going to be working quite a bit. But I think way back when I was starting out, I didn't really think about it as, sort of working during the week and having off. It was, I would have to go in often for rounds on the weekends, maybe going into the hospital and checking on patients and things like that. And, you just start to think of it, it's just part of your life. So I think when you choose a career that's right for you, you won't be thinking so much about, well, when do I have to go to work and when do I not go to work? It'll just be part of what you do, part of how you live. Now, don't get me wrong, I like vacations, and we're working on taking more vacation time and everything like that. So we're actually at a point of where we are trying to make sure that we have a good work, life, personal life balance. So I think that that's important also. But when you're young, be prepared for working hard at achieving your goals. The harder you work when you're young, the less you probably will have to work at it as you get older. And being happy with what you do, I think, just means so much. If you can go home at the end of the day, feel like you contributed something to society, that for us, I think that you helped at least one person to a better place, move to a better place, whether that's healthier because of some problem with oral health, or healthier for other reasons. It can make you really feel good and like you've made a difference. And I think most people go into healthcare, that's why they go into healthcare. It's because they really want to make a difference. So when you apply, for those of you who will be applying for school, don't be afraid to say, well, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a dentist because I want to help people. Because that actually is what I think most people will write down. But one of the things to remember is that when you do look around and you see your classmates, think about how you can distinguish yourself. Not where you're competing with others necessarily, but where you are doing the most that you can to present yourself well. And so that may mean volunteering, doing some community things. That may mean doing, getting involved with doing some research type, sort of a research assistant type thing, or being mentored by somebody who does exactly what it is that you feel you want to do now. But just know that there's so many aspects of you that are evaluated when you apply. So it's not just, well, you get straight A's and automatically you're going to be able to go where you want to go. You have to show that there's something in you that makes you different. And I like to say, think of yourself as a young leader. So reach high. When you want to do something, you want to go to medical school or you want to go to dental school, you want to be the best. You want to be a leader in dentistry. For here in Charlotte, we try to do what we can to help different, like I said, more high-risk communities. So we have a special emphasis or a special focus on underrepresented minorities in healthcare. There are fewer than, I think it's like 4% and even less, for 4% of physicians are African American, and about the same or less for dentists. And so what we want to do is to try to increase that, because the more multicultural, the more diverse the healthcare workforce, the better and the stronger the healthcare workforce.
I agree. That's wonderful. I know we have some people coming in and out. Don't leave if you feel like we're not addressing something that you'd want to hear. This is totally your interview. Be sure that you write any questions that you have for these wonderful doctors here in the comments area. Just to reiterate, we are here because over 4,000 of you, our middle and high schoolers, chose health sciences as a career that you might have a potential interest in pursuing once you leave high school. So we're here with doctors Cheryl Walker-McGill and Paul McGill, who are here to talk to us about their experiences. So we talked a little bit about timelines and what a work week looks like, but could you tell us what the timeline was for each of you from high school to where you are now?
Yes, well, after finishing high school, you got to make adequate, good grades, especially in the sciences, to be able to be qualified to get into the necessary university or school to become a dentist or an orthodontist or whatever profession you decide to go into. After finishing that, you take 4 additional years of dental school, and after finishing that, I took 2 additional years of orthodontic school. Now, I've always thought that if you can teach somebody something, you've got to really know your material. So immediately before I even graduated, they asked me if I wanted to teach. I said yes. First summer, I was an I was an instructor. And then next fall, they promoted me to an assistant professor. And this was at Howard University in the orthodontic department. So I stayed there 4 years, teaching at Howard University Ortho School and DC General Hospital. I also had 2 outside practices. So that kept me very busy. You don't have to do all of that. You can have 1 practice, you can teach, and as my wife was saying, you can do many, many other things in the various fields that you're interested in. But one of the main goals that I had when I decided to go to dental school was to come back to Charlotte, North Carolina, to be an orthodontist here. There were no orthodontists, black orthodontists in Charlotte until I arrived.
So he was the first.
I was the first black orthodontist to come to Charlotte and the second black orthodontist to come to the state of North Carolina.
Oh, wow.
The first one was my previous professor in orthodontics at Howard University. And he arrived in Durham and he started teaching at UNC Chapel Hill. And Dr. Bean taught there and everyone just loved him to death. So I moved down approximately 5 years later to Charlotte. And it was a little difficult because there was only 10 black dentists in the city of Charlotte. And I had to depend on everyone for support of sending patients in. So I got seriously involved with the community. And people knew me. I was president of this organization and that organization. I was going around everywhere. But this is the way you get out and you let people know who you are. I don't care if you're the best person in the world. But you're the best at writing something. If no one knows that, no one is going to come to you. But it got to the point where my practice grew and grew and grew. And it was got to be quite good here for me in Charlotte. And therefore I talk to others. I have mentored students from day one. After I got out of school and I bought my first practice, which was only 6 months after I got out of school, a lot of my assistants decided from just my talking with them to become dentists, and some have moved on to orthodontist. Here, this next year, we will have 2 students coming out of dental school.
2 who interned with him.
They were interning with me for about 3 or 4 years, and they kept saying they wanted to go to dental school, and we worked with them to help them to get into dental school, and they are doing quite well. Each one that I help, I tell them that each one has to help one. Mm. So they have to reach back and help somebody else. It takes a village, and it takes all of us working together to reach a certain goal. So it's very, very important for each of you to understand you've got to set that dream. You got to reach out, talk to individuals in those professions, and then go for it. Nice. And you'll be surprised at how many people will help you.
That's awesome. And I know you talked about your the timeline for being a physician, but I'd like to know more about, you specifically. What was your,
Okay. So I went from high school straight into undergrad. I finished undergrad in 4 years. I went straight into medical school. I finished that in a little over 3 years. And then I and then I did some research, and I did my undergrad and medical school both at Duke. And then I did my internship, residency, and fellowship training, and that was a total of 5 years at Northwestern University in Chicago. So it was really 4 for undergrad, about 3.5 for me for medical school, but you could allow 4 because I did some research on the other. And then 3 years to be an internist and 2 more years to specialize. So it's quite a bit of time, but like I said, the time will go by anyway. So you have to figure out how do you want to spend your time and what will help you to get to the goal that you have set for yourself. What's interesting is that when I was in Chicago and I was teaching at Northwestern, I also had a very small allergy practice downtown Northwestern, and there were so many things changing in the marketplace with managed care and different things that I felt a need to understand the business side of medicine more. So I actually then went on to business school and I got my MBA at the University of Chicago. And that was way back in the old days. And so what I would say now is that they have a lot of combined programs. So folks who are thinking about maybe, whether, going to graduate school, medical school, dental school, other things that you might want to consider adding a little bit of the business side onto that, because I think it can help. It gives you sort of just a broader perspective of the healthcare market in general. And it certainly has helped me with, getting to where I am now with doing more quality work than even clinical care at this point.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. We do have a question from Sonia Pruthi. She is wondering, what are some opportunities for doctor shadowing?
Okay.
You'll have to go and ask an individual, that the one that you are interested in their profession, talk with them, call them, ask them. You'll be surprised at how many will help you. there's quite a few people out there who are looking for individuals just to help. And for instance, I just brought on a new shadowing individual today. We just had, well, we got one that's been coming in every Tuesday. She works, she goes to school, and
She's
she
excellent.
still comes by here. And I tell you, she is fantastic.
And we know she's going to be going to dental
Because
school.
I've already introduced her to the deans of Eastern Carolina, not only the dean who admits the students, but the top dean at ECU.
And let me say that ECU has been
Fantastic.
really, it's a great addition to North Carolina, because they are training quite a few medical doctors and dentists.
Yes.
And so that really has, that addition has been appreciated. North Carolina is wonderful because there are a lot of institutions that are available. Of course, I'd like to plug my alma mater, but there are many. UNC is fantastic, and UNC has campuses, all across the state. Bowman Gray, Wake Forest, North Carolina State, of course, and I won't name all of them. Right here we have Johnson C. Smith, there's A&T, so there's so many universities, that are available. And what I would say as far as shadowing is that if you know what type of healthcare professional you'd like to be, and you've had some exposure to someone who's already doing that, is to just ask. The second thing is that you can always contact some of the medical societies that are here. There's the Charlotte Medical Dental Pharmaceutical Society and the Mecklenburg County Medical Society, and also there's the Dental Society, there are the state societies, etc. And you can ask them if they have a mentoring program. And then, of course, with our Right Track program, we help to connect students, high school students and college students, with mentors, and then we actually also serve as mentors for them.
Nice.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question, Sonia. That was very great. I know we've kind of talked generally about the careers, and you've told us about your specific paths. I am curious about how being an allergist plays in with school systems.
Okay. So asthma is actually one of the most common reasons why young children miss days of school. So it's a very important problem. And I have been treating patients with asthma for, let's just say, many years. Perhaps longer than what most of the people here, longer than what they were born. They're older. I've been practicing for more years than what you've been living. But, so that means I have a lot of experience with it. But I've actually enjoyed probably most asthma education, being involved with asthma education for young students. So when I was in Chicago, I developed a program. It's called the Wheezy Wanda Asthma Education Program. And it was for the Chicago public school system. And it was actually focused, I wrote a book, my uncle was the illustrator, and we had a book where we just showed a young girl who actually has a problem with asthma and then is able to go out and play once her asthma is well controlled. We focused on kindergarten to third grade. The Chicago public school system sometimes sneak in the preschoolers. So we actually had very young children who participated in the program. And it was just a delight. We had patients who dressed up as inflammation, mucus, and constriction. And our mucus was rufous mucus. And we had volunteers who would dress up as our characters and go out and talk to the students. And believe it or not, they would line up to meet Rufus Mucus, who would be this character, and she would put all this fake mucus all over her, and it would look really yucky, but the kids loved it. And one of the things I think that we know is that it can be fun. So it's not just, oh, I've got to do this, I don't know, I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day, but you can actually do things at times in your career that can just be fun and give you a lot of joy.
That's awesome. And the same goes for you. How does orthodontics actually affect students, or how can that impact a student's life?
Well, if you talk to people, most of the time they're going to look at your teeth. If your teeth are out of alignment, or some people call it jacked out, most people will look at your teeth and not hear what you're saying. But if your teeth are nicely aligned, usually they will listen to what you are saying and consider what you are saying very important. So for me, I treat a lot of patients. A lot of patients will come in this office and they have this timid condition of wanting to cover up their mouth as they are talking. And you can't half understand what they're saying because they get their hand over their mouth. That's because they are bothered by the fact that their teeth are out of alignment. So usually I'll talk to them and work with them and hopefully get them into some appliances or the necessary treatment to get their teeth into proper alignment. Once we finish straightening out the teeth, usually less than halfway through the process, students sort of open up more. And they start letting me know because I will ask them, what would you like to do once you grow up? And most, about halfway through, they'll start talking about it, and I will start telling them how or the best way to go about reaching that goal. Each student or individual has a different goal. Most of them will have a different goal, and a lot of them just want to become a dentist or an orthodontist, which I will help and try to mentor them and try to get them going in the correct direction to reach that goal. But overall, it's a pleasure. I can work on orthodontic patients all day long and don't get tired until I finish with that last one and sit down.
And then you feel
And
it comes rushing.
Yes, it comes rushing that, boy, it was a tough day today. But after you think back over it, and you see all of those wonderful smiling faces, especially when we take those braces off, sometimes the parents will cry, sometimes the patient will cry.
But happy tears.
It's a happy tear situation that they are so thankful for the changes that just straightening their teeth has made in their lives.
It does. I have had braces.
And you have beautiful teeth.
Well, thank you.
Yes, you surely
Very,
do.
very, very glad to have had braces. You could park some of our CMS buses between my teeth.
Let me say, and going back to asthma, the one thing I should say is that, asthma can and should be controlled.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are a lot of children in America who have asthma and it's under control. There are some children who have asthma and it's not under control. And so it's very important to know, first of all, what the triggers are so you can make sure that you avoid things that you know to be triggers. And then, of course, there are certain things that you just can't. Pollution and things like that you really can't avoid completely. But make sure that if you do have asthma and you're having problems breathing, or if it's a parent who's listening and it's your child who has asthma, that you take them into their physician to make sure that they're on the right medications and enough medication to control their symptoms. When you can breathe well, you do well. And so if you have asthma and you're going to school, and let's say it's a test day and you're already feeling your chest is tight and you're wheezing and you're not feeling well, you're not going to do well on the test. So it's very important to just make sure that the asthma is well controlled. And if you're going to a doctor and you find that the doctor, that your asthma, your symptoms aren't getting better for one reason or another, I always tell people that it is good to have a second opinion. If you're having problems and they're not getting better, even if I'm the doctor that you're seeing, I recommend that you have a second opinion, because what's most important is for you to be healthy, hopefully that you will be happy during your school years, and you will just enjoy the experience. And I think part of that is just appreciate that it's a time for learning, and learning is wonderful. Hope I don't sound like a nerd or anything like that. But
There's nothing wrong with being a
but learning is really, really wonderful, and it's fun. And what we hope and want is that for all of the young people who are listening today and watching this, that they are able to achieve, first of all, that they're able to dream, and then secondly, that they're able to achieve their goals. And there are many people that are out there, including many of the counselors and teachers and parents, and of course us and many other people out there in Charlotte. There are many physicians, many dentists who do a lot of work with kids in high school. And what we recommend is just, make sure you create your own village. So know that it really does, you have to have what I like to say is the infrastructure, but maybe the village, to be able to help you to get where you are. It's very difficult to make it when you're on your own. So as you go through things, whether it's at your church, a community center, at the YMCA, and the YMCA has partnered with us. And let me say, there's so many good things coming out of Charlotte. The Mint Museum has been a partner, and we truly appreciate that. The YMCA, we've worked with folks at the McCrory YMCA, and so there are many things that can be done, I think, to help. And what you know is that, see, even when we were younger and we created our own villages, or we had our infrastructure, even now we still need the village. So that's why we need our partners. And so think of yourself as needing partners to sort of get through life, whether it's through a healthcare profession or other things. And the better that partnership, the stronger you'll be, and the easier it will be. It won't be easy. I just said it will be easier. But I think that it's like a wonderful day, isn't it? It's a wonderful day to be in high school, and to just have the whole world open to you. And that's another thing I think that is different, is that when we were growing up, it's more local. Probably our dreams were more local. We'll go up and we'll be a dentist, or we'll be a doctor in our community, etc. Well, now it's the world. We realize it's more of a global economy than anything. We have a niece who is fluent in Japanese, and she went over, when she finished college, she went over to Japan and worked for the Japanese consulate. Can you imagine it? Working for the Japanese consulate, and now she works for the Japanese consulate in Colorado, in Denver. And so it shows you just that you can be anything you want, anywhere. Now, it may not be, it may take you a longer time to get there. It may not be a very straightforward thing, but it's the world that you can influence. It's the world that you can change. And so I think that many years ago, I believed that I wanted to live my life believing that I could change the world in some way. I could make something better. And I think that that's what sort of gets you through the hard times. That's why you can say, oh, I spent 4 years here, 4 years there, 5 years there, 10 years here. But you know what? At the end of the day, if you reach your goals, it is all worth it.
That's so wonderful. I know we have gone way over time. So, I want to say thank you to Doctors Paul McGill and Cheryl Walker-McGill, who have really taken so much of their time to talk to us today. Thank you, Sonia Pruthi, for your question. If anyone else has any questions, I know it's a weird time, high school's getting out, so sorry about that, but we definitely want you guys to take advantage of the fact that these kind folks are here to answer any of your questions about health sciences, about orthodontics, about allergies, about asthma, about what it's like to be a doctor, about what it's like to be right across the street from Northwest School of the Arts, what it's like to be on Beatties Ford Road, what it's like to be a Charlottean. We definitely want you to ask anything that you like, and what we'll do is we'll take your questions and get answers and post them right back here for you. So,
and remember, the Right Track program.
Oh, it's like shameless plug time.
That's
Tell
right.
us about everything
remember the Right Track program, because we actually have spent quite a bit of time preparing some modules for students.
And tell them what the modules are. It's amazing. It's really quite cool.
So we have modules of where we interview different healthcare professionals about what they do, how it is that they got there, and what they recommend for students who are, just starting off. So students who are in high school. We have now 12 modules, and we will be providing them to CMS, to schools, so that students will be able to access them at a time that's convenient for them.
Yes.
Thank you. That's so amazing. And it's kind of like a microcosm of the larger career efforts. So since November's over, it doesn't mean career development has to end. So
That's
we'll,
right.
Any questions you have, and as soon as we get the modules, we'll put those up for you guys. But otherwise, I don't know if there's any last final pieces of advice that you'd like to give to the students.
Only thing I want you to remember is to work up your dream. Think about, talk to the individuals that you have an interest in the field of work that they're doing. And then don't be afraid to ask them or to talk to them, because they're just like you and they're just like me. For instance, my wife, you got to understand, last year she was the president of the North Carolina Medical Board, which is the top doc in the state.
Oh, wow.
So all the physicians around North Carolina, her name had to be written on their license for them to get licensed to even practice.
Wow.
But yet she takes time out of her schedule, and that's not the only thing. She was president of all these other different, and when she was in Chicago, she helped out so many kids at the White Sox, the baseball team, had her to come out and pitch out first ball. Wow. And then they paid for 1,000 students to come to a game and fed them hot dogs too.
Oh my
so
gosh.
She's been through a lot of this, of helping individuals. And the only thing we can do is that we both enjoy what we do. And that is to help individuals reach your goals. We try to do as much as we can, but we realize that a lot of you don't have the transportation needed, so we place them on little modules that is going to be available that you can look at to see some of the fantastic people that you may want to follow.
And let me say that I think that it's sort of a final word. You know, we talk about making sure that you plan your future, you know, career-wise, but I also think that it's very important for you to pick your friends,
Yes.
And make sure that the people who are around you support you. So the reason why I can do many of the things that I've done is because I've had a very supportive and loving husband. And I think that that's just important. I don't think you need to get married in high school. Don't confuse things, okay?
Yes.
But what I do think is that you need to have people who are around you who believe in you and who support you and who are there when things are going well and there perhaps when things aren't going so well. Because the bottom line is tomorrow's always a new day. So I think that we just wish everybody out there just really a good life. And just know who you are and then decide what it is that you want to be, and don't be afraid to change. So if you go to undergrad and you get into chemistry classes or anatomy and you find that you don't want to have anything to do with healthcare, you know what? Maybe you won't want to do anything with clinical healthcare, but there might be some other way that you will want to contribute. We have an uncle who does artwork. He's an artist. And so he recently had his artwork shown at Harvard hospitals in Boston. And so what it shows, and what does artwork do? Well, it can calm the soul for very sick people. And so that's his contribution. And I just think that, we need you. We need good people, smart people, caring people in healthcare. And so hopefully some of you will consider that as you move forward and start early. It's never too early to contact a school. The only thing they might tell you is that, well, this is the information. If you're 8 years old, it's a little young to submit the application. But, you can still, that you will get somebody who will respond to you. And so you start developing those relationships now. You go for internships. You look at all these different schools, all those great schools in North Carolina. Look at them. See who has summer internships for you. Some of you where, maybe a paid internship is better than a non-paid one. So you can find you can find it. You might just have to sort of dig deeply. We have great hospital systems here. Carolina Healthcare System, we have Novant and others. And so just take the time to see what is around you and then make the most of it and just have a good life.
Happy holidays, and thank you for this opportunity.
Take care.